And welcome to another News Game Plus. I'm Dermie as usual, and I'm here with a man who released a statement last week saying that he's not affiliated with the new NRL team in Perth. New Game Plus executive producer Jason and Callahan.
Okay. So for those who don't know what he's talking about, there's a group in Western Australia. They call themselves the Perth Bears, which is obviously meant to mean hairy big gay men, right? And so there's the new NRL team over there is the Perth Bears. And so there's been a mix-up. Let's just get the inverted brackets mix-up for some of the gentlemen who were like, oh, hang on, what's with all these gay dudes in my NRL group? You know, I prefer my men standing in a line when they're tackling each other to the ground.
And sweaty and
and
oiled up.
Yeah, scrums aren't gay, by the way. Yeah, look, I don't know, man. Like mix up. Anyway, it was funny. It was one of those ones where I'm like, perfect storm of like, and again, it's you're talking Bears too. So you're talking if there's any gay blokes who are likely to like sports, it's going to be the big hairy ones. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, the Bears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed that, and we saw one of our mutual friends put it up as well. So
tremendous marketing by the
good job.
The gay Bears, because I mean they really took the opportunity there to announce who they were. So look, because good.
Hey man,
good on them.
Smoke them if you got them, right?
Got their name out. So there you go. But anyway,
like one of my mottos in this life is sucker as much or as little dick as you want in this life, and that's all. I don't really care that.
Well, this podcast just took a turn.
I'm just saying. I think it's a pretty good. If you want to suck 0 dicks, that's good for you. And if you want to suck 100, treat yourself. Treat yourself, and then treat your diseases. But yeah. They get on the penicillin, but yeah.
Okie. Well,
on that note, yeah.
Well, I can't wait to see the like to dislike ratio for the first 2 minutes of this podcast.
I mean, I think we have a few gay listeners. I'm pretty sure. Oh yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure as well. Look,
I did have someone riff on me the other day, and they were like, "Oh, we have to talk about something," and I'm like, "What?" And they're like, "I'm riffing on your podcast." Well, I thought you were, but I just wasn't thinking. Because they'll say how much they hated the TikTok trend. I'm like, yeah, I think that's why Dermie does it, just to annoy you specifically.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I just thought I'd do it, and sort of been doing it since. Because now it's like we started. You know how the this is going to sound lame. You know when you get in a habit of doing things, right? And then you kind of can't stop, because when you stop, it's sort of weird. Yeah, you know the house where the guy from Chopper, the no cashier guy.
Yeah.
That's over near the Footscray Hospital.
Neville Bartos.
Yeah, Bartos, that's it. So, yeah, every time we drive past that for the last few years, because I watched Chopper with my son, every time we drive past, I go, there's no cash here. And he goes, cash, not here. So every time we drive, and we kind of, when we drove past and didn't do it one day, and we felt weird. So once you start doing a habit, or like no habit, but when you stop, it's strange.
Yeah. Once you stop memeing, it becomes a problem.
Yes, I mean it's silly now, but there you go. Do you want to do some gaming stuff?
We can. We don't have to do a 15-minute tangent.
Well, I mean, there's no politics news really.
I mean, outside, we could talk about our Biden conspiracy theories, but no one really cares. So
yeah, it's been all along. Although you can't call me Biden anymore, because I don't actually have
cancer. Yeah, touch wood.
It's a very insensitive of you.
You're of the age group. But yeah.
What's your problem with cancer sufferers?
Yeah, that's true. They're all bastards. Trust me, I know. In my anecdotal experience with cancer survivors, they're all pricks.
Little bears.
Yeah.
That's an in-joke that's going to go down very bad.
Yeah, I know. For those who don't know,
anyone wants to know, just
I did have it as a teenager, for what it's worth. So
there we go. That's it. Yeah,
that's the joke. Jack did mention the mic quality's picked up, which is nice. So.
That's good. And anyone wants to have more of a chat, we'll meet at Pancake Parlor.
There you go.
There we go. More in-jokes. Okay, cool. Let's do some gaming. Oh, actually, you've been playing the Helldivers update. I did have that on the list here, that there was. My son, he talked about it nonstop, and then I got here and you did too.
Let's do a what are you playing? I literally finished Avowed in a week, but that's, don't tell Dan how many hours, probably about 85 hours.
Yeah, he wanted me to do something, and I had to
stop it.
I was playing Oblivion. Yeah. I was actually spamming the persuasion wheel to try and get my speechcraft up. So. And he said, "Oh, can you get this done?" I'm like, "No, I'm pressing."
No, so I played Avowed.
Sorry,
Avowed is very good. Did you play what is it? Pillars of Eternity?
Nah.
The Pillars of Eternity is
I've only just started Balatro. I'm running way behind.
If you when you get off Oblivion and you've got Balatro as a bit of a palate cleanse, try playing Avowed, and Avowed is good old fashioned RPG storytelling. The combat is so
they're old, so I'm happy.
The combat is so fun. It's the bits of they tried to do with Skyrim. It's what they tried to do with Skyrim, except actually done properly. So you can equip left hand, right hand. Right. So for example, you can have like a 2-handed weapon. You can have like a
it's like Halo.
Sure.
You dual wield.
And you can
Halo 2, not the others.
And you can have one weapon that swaps. So you can have a loadout that swaps. So yes, technically it is like Halo.
All right, I like it. I like it.
So for example, I was running around with like a rifle, and then I had in my other hand I had either a pistol or a dagger and a spell book.
Of course, you had a fucking dagger.
Yeah, and so well, no. When I started the run through, I played
a space game, and you avoided all the laser weapons and all that, and you had to run around with a machete. Yeah. And you're in space, so there's all this wonderful new technology to use, and you've got give me a blade.
So I'm
a nut job.
when I first
give me a blade.
When I first started playing it, I actually played it with punches, so you could level up your punches.
I've been doing that in Oblivion.
That's why I play Fallout.
You're punching crabs.
I play Fallout basically sniper rifles and punching, and so there's nothing funnier than shooting the head off one super mutant, hearing them go bleh, and then they run at you, and they've got their hammers thinking they're tough. I'm like, you think you're tough? I'm just punching their faces in.
Yeah, but sniper rifle in Fallout was always frustrating because as soon as you fire, they'll run toward you.
Yeah, I agree.
Really frustrating.
So, and funnily enough, that's one thing that
you only get one shot off.
One thing Avowed does is that as long as you're outside of sound range, they'll just be like, what? They'll go, whoa, they'll get triggered, but they won't know exactly where you are.
Yeah, they can't just run straight towards you.
Yeah, and so, but no, Avowed, so you can have a Grimoire of, say, 4 spells and then a dagger. So basically, in the end, I had this great bow that shot lightning, and then it had a passive spell where it shot lightning at anyone around it. So you get the crit damage plus the lightning plus the thing. So by the time you got to them, they'd be taking the extra damage from the lightning and they'd be getting stunned. So it was great. And then you run in and you've got either your dagger or your whatever and your spell book. And then I just ended up leveling up lightning. So I just keep throwing lightning at them. Moral story is Avowed was great. And the ending made me really question who I am as a person. Now I say that not because it was particularly amazing. It was good, but it wasn't particularly amazing. But what it was the ending I chose. When I chose it, I'm like, what does that say about me as a person? So there's kind of 2 main endings. I won't spoil either of them.
Well, you didn't get an ending you didn't like, and then lobby the developers to change it.
So
my decision should matter.
The only spoiler I will give is that it does the Mass Effect 3 thing where it's just Deus Ex ending again, right? And I won't go into any more detail than that. But there's 2 main endings. There's what happens in the political world ending and what happens in the dream/God world ending. And so it really is covering those 2 kind of aspects of religion plus political side of it. Really, it does a great job of it because you are in a world where gods exist, where the afterlife exists, where all these things exist. And so you have people who could perform animancy, which is taking the souls and essence of people and putting them into devices and things like that. They've got zombies working their farms and shit like that. It's abhorrent, right? And they went to this place because they were allowed to continue their animancy and their ability to continue to rip souls out of things and put them into other things. And it's just at its core, it's really silly, you are upsetting the natural order, whether you believe in gods or not, because you won't let these bodies rest, but also, gods are real. You know that these souls and essences you're pulling away are now no longer going through the wheel, the karmic wheel that exists in the game. So you are actively limiting their afterlife. It's a different conversation in the real world where God doesn't exist. Spoilers, in the real world.
What?
Yeah, I know.
So there's no chosen.
I know.
Let's not.
Let's not touch.
That's all fake. Do you
Yeah.
Made up stories.
I know, right? And the worst thing is it's
how can they justify killing people if it doesn't exist?
It's got 2 more sequels. That's the funny part about that.
Oh my God.
And so, but anyway, Avowed is really good. And then I've been playing the new Helldivers update, and I could wax lyrical about it. But if you have been playing Helldivers and you want a reason to come back, it's great. It's in story. It works. It's Illuminate. It's all Illuminate. So you have to learn to play a little bit differently to playing bugs and bots. And there are still bug and bot maps at the moment, but everyone's pitching in for defending Super Earth, and you should too, because I'm doing my part.
Yeah, my son's doing his part.
And so, I will
shut up about it, just like you.
No, and it's great, and yeah, he still hasn't added me because he obviously thinks I'm a noob, but I hard carry.
Adamancy, that was a good band, a good new wave band.
I thought you would like that because that's I figured they knew what they were doing when they were talking about that. But you as a newly converted Balatro kid, how does it feel to have new crack? Because I mean, now that you're gambling, of course, because of course Balatro has gambling in it.
Yeah, no, that's ridiculous. But yeah, look, I actually, it's really the poker mechanics is just a mechanism to have you select which cards to play, and even then, you can play 3 or 4 cards. You don't have to play 5, so it's not really poker.
You can be a math nerd. You can be whatever you need to be at that point. Yeah. But you have to be a math nerd. Realistically, you're like, because cool, I need enough stake crossed by enough multiplier, crossed by enough multiplier to make it work. So
I can see how people can while away 6 or 8 hours in it. I can see how you can do that real easy. It's relaxing. It's got that sort of that also the music is got that sort of, remember that early Minecraft quality where it's just that background music just lulls you into a little just a little mood where you can just keep playing. I found it strangely enjoyable for a game that's just like playing poker hands.
You can get it on your phone. You can get it on your Switch.
And it's not poker. It's not poker. The gambling stuff.
Let's be so any parents listening.
They did not play the game.
If your kids play Balatro, be more worried that they're a nerd than that they're gambling. Like you can argue that seeing cards will do it, but I'm like, but we've been playing with cards for so long on this. There's
no harm knowing what a poker. There's no harm knowing what a full house or because a lot of parents have played Yahtzee with their kids, and that's just poker with dice, which is actually interesting because dice was actually originally years ago. Parents wouldn't let their kids play because dice was associated with gambling.
I was gonna say, isn't that who Jesus cast out of the temple as well? As part of that, it was the moneylenders and the dike. Anyway, it doesn't matter. the dikes, yeah. He seemed like
it's a modern church now.
I was like, he had 12 blokes hanging around. He was definitely okay with the gay bloke. So
well, they did change every female in the Bible to be a prostitute.
That's true.
So that is true. Some sort of issues there.
But
talk about that. We already said it doesn't exist. Did the light just dim?
Yeah.
So the lights in this room literally just went off and on again.
Yeah.
Oh well.
I don't think anyone has any. I mean, let's clear it up for the Lord our God above. No, I think anyone has a particular issue with Jesus outside of the Messiah complex a little bit. But
I don't care if people like religion, it makes them a better person. Then I'm all for it, and the community minded stuff and all that, and it's great. And the church has been very supportive of my mum since my dad died, and that's wonderful. But if you use it as an excuse to murder people, then you're an asshole, and you deserve the help.
This is the one thing that the religion used to have the kind of
it's a long way from Balatro.
The market cornered on was community spaces, and I think the things that have replaced those community spaces are inherently worse. Things like Twitter, things like Facebook, they are worse than being in a community. And when you're purity checking a group of 20, 30 people, you can do it. You can go, cool, we need to believe in the same things together. When you're purity checking 65 million people, you're never gonna align. Do you know what I mean? Like you're never gonna align on the things that matter. I want to find a way to turn this on. Anyway, I just don't think.
I've sent you some message. It's a good joke actually. It said Joe Biden actually the cancer got him, and he went and he died and he went to the afterlife and he saw John McCain. He said, "Well, that's weird. What are you doing here in heaven?" And John McCain goes, "Oh, sorry to tell you, but this ain't heaven." He goes, "That's weird because how come Charlie Chaplin's over there?" Anyway, it's a visual gag. Do you want to know another gaming news?
I mean, I got the visual gag for what it's worth. I think people would get it. Oh,
okay, so it just wasn't good.
Yeah, I mean, did Charlie Chaplin like marry his like niece or cousin or something, like his 16-year-old cousin?
Maybe it was there. Although he does have a bit to top to the guy. Anyway, okay, here's a big story this week: Bungie copying assets.
Yeah, so it's more about Bungie as well to this one. I know.
Is it?
They're all coming out. They're all coming out of the woodwork now. All their NDAs are expiring. So
okay, very quick one. So there's a creator or a designer called Anti-Real, and they made a bunch of poster art, like
wallpaper and stuff.
17 or something, a couple of years ago. Anyway, and they basically, their logo was on it. They hid a little meme in there about loss. It's not a pleasant meme, but a meme in there. And now the Marathon game that Bungie has released has a unique art style, which I reckon looks good. It did have the same energy I thought as Wipeout.
Yeah.
So it looked, it was different enough. I was actually very hopeful for it.
That kind of dystopian, like, yeah.
Yeah, it was colourful. It wasn't like all dark and that. There's something different. But
I'll give that to Avad as well. Avad is very colourful.
As it turns out, Bungie, this is the story. As I've seen online, right? So they hired a design studio called Kerper Hosk or something like that. and they supplied the assets, and it appears like they supplied the assets from Anti-Real's work, basically.
Nice.
So they basically copied and not just took inspiration from, but outright copied. So the logo was even still there for Anti-Real's little watermark logo. That was there.
So that's crazy.
Everything was just copied, sometimes turned upside down. They just totally stole somebody's work.
So it's a multiple prong
studio with billions of dollars.
Number one, Bungie's not big enough to get away with it. You need to be Meta or Google to get away with it, right?
You just say it's AI.
Yeah, right.
Just say it was an AI tool and it's let us steal.
Yeah, they could steal
20 years ago, kids were being sued for pirating CDs.
Still went to jail for Napster.
For Napster, yeah. And now you got AI, you got Altman out there going, AI has to have access to everything, otherwise you can't train the AI. There's so much bullshit with AI. But anyway.
So the other part as well is it's hard sometimes when people say like, oh, it looks just like X. I'm like, looks just like is different to stolen, right? If you say I'm inspired, like if people take inspiration from art, that is how art has progressed. That's where the movements came from, the cubists and all these different things. Because like we're sick of this style of art. Our eyes view it through this lens. We're going to create art of this style, cinema project.
And if you do it yourself and you have the ability to do something inspired by, then you're still doing some sort of work.
Yes.
Yeah, this one was.
They were a straight rip of assets. And so the like obviously they've thrown this mob under the bus. Whether or not it's true, we have to take, we can only take them on their word. But the flip of it is in the alpha still. It is only in pre-alpha, so it's not finalized. So they may have just done it as a background thing. But even then,
look, this is the case where, the design studio has to basically be really, if this is what happened, right? I have to be clear on that because this is done on money base and this on stuff sent online. But if a design studio stole a creator's work without crediting and actually stole, then they need to have the contracts cancelled, but they also need to compensate that artist fully.
Yeah. So
everything Bungie paid has to go to the artist.
My thing was
there has to be a massive penalty.
I've never understood why they don't just in those situations go, hey, seen your stuff online, like to bring you on as a designer on the thing, but we'd like to use some of your thing as part of that. Can we purchase you and part of your portfolio on a 2-year contract? We'll give you $200,000. Anything you create in that time.
I agree. Surely what Anti-Real posted publicly was a sort of like not an application, but
portfolio.
Portfolio. So surely if you saw it and you said this is fine work, then you contact them and say, we've got a project coming out. We think your style is going to be perfect for it. Come on board.
Yeah.
And there's been no mention of it in negotiation. So it doesn't appear like it may come out, but it doesn't appear yet like they've contacted an Anti-Real's asked for an absurd amount of money or something. It doesn't appear like they did that all.
If they had the there's no excuse for it, but if they had the receipt, say, look, we tried to contact them all and they didn't want to come on board. And this was a placeholder we had originally. You'd go, okay,
do something similar, but no copy. It's just wild that they just took it. And also, this is another thing. I've got a question. Look, I'm going to question the brains of the people behind this. How did the people at this agency not understand that this would get found out? If you deal,
in 2025, I agree. 100%.
If you deal with creative, we both deal with creatives in different areas.
Yeah.
There's no way this was gonna just fly under the radar. And they're probably lucky it's come out now and not later when the game's.
Well, that's what I mean. Now that it's in pre-alpha, they can change it and go, oh, look, no harm, no foul. The game wasn't a commercial product. Blah blah blah.
Anti-Real can get a lawyer that'll come in and say, I'll take a cut of what you get here, and let's just go to town on Bungie. Let's just have our way with them.
So there's also been a lot of reports recently of people who'd left Bungie and things like that, and they talk about how since the Sony buyout, or even around the Sony buyout, the culture had really changed, like a really greedy corporate culture. And I mean, you can tell that as soon as you sell out to something like that, like you're either doing it as a lifeline or you're doing it as we're cashing out.
Well, why would they using a design agency for it in the first place? Like this sort of stuff has to be done in house.
Yeah.
And that is just basically trying to have some sort of deniability as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely.
And say, look, and not understand. I just can't get my head around the idea that they thought they'd get away with it.
Yeah.
It is the dumbest crime you can do.
Yeah, I mean, in such a searchable, absolutely agree. Like
as you said, 2025 with the tools you have.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't know if you've heard of other contests where it's like, I know Telstra had one. There was a few others where it's like, oh, design a brief for a product, and then in the fine print we get to keep everything that you've created, you know. And then I've seen them used in ads. It's like, yeah,
okay, job application. I've heard of job apps, and mostly in the US, but everything shit starts in the US and then gets
spread over
exported. Yeah. Because all America makes now is like bombs and financial scams and OnlyFans pages.
Yeah, and South California content. Yeah,
yeah. So, yeah. Look, to me, the whole thing's confusing. I think, yeah, I can't believe that anyone thought they'd get away with it. And then anti-real has a case here, and I think should get very rich.
Yeah, I think, yeah. Look, they'd be smart not to just put $300,000 in front of her and say sign this NDA and walk off into the sunset with your money. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I'll do some. Yeah, and so much for this women in gaming thing.
Yeah, I mean that's the other one, right? Like,
I say, there's a little subplot to this one. It's like, dudes,
yeah,
like what were you done? Yeah. So anyway, yeah. Hopefully there's a look. I would like there to be a large price paid.
Yes,
a large penalty for this, even if it's just in the consumer space. And my reason being that it has to be something stamped out, and it has to be something in the creator community. And I don't mean creator as in YouTube creator.
No.
In the creative community. Yep. That is so frowned upon. That is absolutely so frowned upon. It has to, people have to understand how bad that is.
And I'm going to flip this to the other side.
Like a comedian stealing jokes.
Yeah. Well, so I'm going to flip that to the other side of the conversation. People always say, pay artists what they're worth. And I'm like, okay, this is not an example of that, but some artists aren't worth $500. I say
but if you're going to use these assets for a game,
exactly, therein lies the difference.
It is worth.
But if I then turned around and said to that person, "Oh, I don't like anything but the draft you've given me, whatever," and then I go around and use that draft, then I should pay them fully, right? But it is that thing of this person wasn't even looking for a job with Bungie. There was no reason. There was no potential legal reason for them to have any of this content ascribed to them. Like, again, I'm with you. I hope it's a big payday. I hope there's enough groundswell to make this a problem for him. I hope some greedy enough lawyer comes along and says, I can be as greedy as Bungie. Let's get stuck in.
Yep, call Saul.
Yeah.
And it's I think, look, it's a disgraceful thing to do. Anyway, so what else have I got here? Oh, it's something for you. You're looking forward to Death Stranding too, aren't you? You like walking around?
I'm going to Sydney for it very soon.
Well, that's good because Death Stranding is apparently set in Australia and Mexico.
I hinted at that last week, and I don't know if you picked up on it. Yeah,
no, because I'm slow.
Yeah, no. It is set in Australia.
Somebody said not good.
So basically, yeah, you've got to walk around, avoid brown snakes and funnel webs when you go through Sydney, and then avoid the crocodiles when you go up north, and so.
Yeah, well,
I did.
So it's like being an American tourist.
You know, I did wonder, right? Because when I heard George Miller was one of the main guys, I'm like, he's usually pretty good at incorporating their particular style. Like, I know you haven't played Death Stranding, and you probably won't. Although I would still say
nothing I've seen about the game appeals to me. I know you're in love with it, but nothing. I look at it and I go, oh, there's nothing. Maybe I should try it. But
look,
it doesn't work.
As someone who likes high concept sci-fi, and your sci-fi tastes about the only ones you have that are passable, right? It's about the nicest thing I could say. Your sci-fi tastes
like Cloverfield's kind of sci-fi.
I love Cloverfield. I love Cloverfield.
I was so happy when they died. Anyway,
no, I'm still happy when they died. Don't get me wrong, but that was kind of the point.
They blue-balled me for 2 hours waiting for the obnoxious kids to die.
But look,
kill them at the start.
Yeah. But no, I think chuck it on easy or very easy and just go through it, because I think the themes, like some of the Zen moments, you want to talk about Zen games of just like walking down some of these like rolling lush green hills, listen to this like really nice instrumental or low key music. And it just like, considering you've just survived being literally dragged by ghosts and killed, right? Like,
I know why you like it, because I remember when we were in Japan and you go, the curry place is just a short walk, short walk up here, and we get to the corner, you go, now it's a short walk up here, and we like
That was still my funniest moment.
We're walking like 30,000 steps a day to get to curry.
Your wife said it. She goes, "Oh, yeah." I said, "Oh, I'm gonna go to. We're in Kyoto, and I'm like, I'm gonna go to. We're in Fushimi Inari for those who know Kyoto.
Always walked to Tokyo.
Yeah, Fushimi Inari, and so I'm gonna go to Donkey if anyone's keen. They're like, "Oh yeah, I'll come for a walk," and then they go, "How far is it?" I'm like, "Oh, it's not that far," and they go, "Yeah, okay," and then Dermie just goes, "No, interrogate that." And that was all I heard from the background. It was no, interrogate that. I looked it up. I'm like, "Oh, it's only like a 39-minute walk."
I'm so glad I wasn't in Scouts with you when we used to go hiking. Holy crap, we'd still be on a mountain somewhere.
I'm a
just around past his tree.
I embrace my caveman roots. I'm a trudger. I could walk for hours, kill something, drag it back, and everyone would be happy. And that would be my place in the tribe. And I'm a trudger. I will trudge for hours. I just hate the heat. The big one is the heat. Like I can't hack the heat.
The cold in Japan was a nice cold.
It's wonderful still air. Like there's no wind. There's none of that Melbourne wind. It's just this beautiful stillness. Even when I was in Sapporo, right, it was like -11, and it was still nice. Like it was cold. Like I could feel. I was wearing. You saw my outfit, my jeans, my spray jacket.
It was just a pleasant cold. It's weird to say. It was not. You go outside, it was really cold, but it just felt so nice.
It was a nice, still pleasant.
I thought I was tripping balls. I thought maybe I love Japan too much. I'm loving the cold, but it was but you're right. It wasn't windy. It was just cold. It was just cold. And if you're like me and you got really bad skin as well, it's beautiful. It's good for headaches.
For sure. Yeah, it's great for headaches as well. Because I remember I had a headache one day, and I was staying with a friend of mine, and I said, give me half an hour. And I walked to the shops, and as I was walking past, I went to this big snowdrift, grabbed a bunch of snow, tucked it on the back of my neck. And it was like within 15 minutes, my tension headache had swollen down. Everything was good. But no, I've actually been looking up those kind of backpacks because that's what I figure they're going for. Because you've seen my Rolly soft backpack. I can just put on as a backpack. And it would look ridiculous on anyone else, but because I'm a gorilla, it looks fine. Like it just looked like a backpack on me. Whereas it's like it's taller than like a 10-year-old kid. Like it's
you could smuggle people in.
Literally, you could literally put a person in there folded up. Not that I have.
That's a good segue to my next one.
Oh, sweet. I told you I finished serial killer clean. Serial killer, crime scene clean.
Not serial killings, smuggling people for a different reason.
Oh, here we go.
Gaming's under attack again. First we had Jack Thompson, then we had Anita,
our mate, yeah.
Sark, and now the latest, Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate. See, he said, he tweeted out, he's on Twitter, he's on X. How does this guy, anyway, crime is legal, as CoffeeZilla would say. He tweeted, "You're obsessed with GTA 6 because you have 0 cars, 0 women, 0 yachts, 0 money, and no action in your real life." Otherwise, that's cool. I also don't have any unwilling girls trapped in my house.
If Smeagol was an alleged human trafficker, you've got Andrew Tate.
So the latest they start hating on games and gamers is.
I think his brother's the more insidious one. I've always said Tristan's the more insidious one because Andrew will go to jail for being the front of it, but Tristan will still be out there spreading the.
He's the one with hair, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, they still look goofy looking. He's less goofy looking.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm not a member of Tate University.
Yeah. When I grow up, I want to go to Bullvine University.
Yeah, don't kid yourself, Jimmy.
Yeah.
If Tate had its chance,
traffic you, everyone you love.
Everyone you love. Yeah. Welcome to the Simpsons Tate style. So that's the latest. So we went Jack Thompson, Anita Sarkeesian, and now Andrew Tate. So it's actually I don't know. Is that going uphill or downhill?
I mean, I just think it just goes to show you that puritanicalism, or Puritanism, however you would say it, has its roots in a lot of Americans' mental subculture.
Well, I will say, as much as I actually thought at the time Anita was allowed to say what she wants, Andrew's allowed to say what he wants. He probably should be saying it from his cell. But But he's welcome to his opinion. Andrew, you're an idiot.
Yeah,
we don't care.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. A metaphor for Fantasio is coming to gape. Jesus, well,
he said gay pass, and then he said gape art, and I'm like, all right. I know we mentioned the Bears earlier, but you're just gonna have to relax.
There's a theme in this podcast today. Holy moly!
Gape ass is a metaphor for Fantasio in itself.
Gape ass.
It's a metaphor for that'd
be quite the product for Microsoft offer. So yeah,
that was at the Blizzard offices anyway.
Yes, well, don't go the Activision one.
Yeah.
So that's Assault Pass. But yeah, so Metaphor ReFantasio added to Game Pass late May, which is actually kind of now.
Yes.
So yeah, there you go. You got a lot of Game of the Year nominations at the Game Awards.
It's got to be said,
so check it out.
It is an Atlas RPG, so you've got to be a Persona kid. You've got to be someone who's willing to sit there and grind.
Well, that's for you guys in New Game Plus.
No, so I've never been that kind of gamer. That was what I don't like about RPG.
Had the rest of the crew end up like that?
I mean, Cart loves it. Don loves it. Even Pogo loves it. So like, but they love those JRPGs. They really do. So, if it don't take my recommendation on it because I was never the target audience, they love it. And Cardi in particular is a big fan of it. Let's continue on Game Pass for a second.
Yep.
Think of the games that I've mentioned in the last 4 weeks, right? Yes. Crime Scene Cleaner, Game Pass. Adamfall, Game Pass. Balatro, Game Pass. Who's that other one?
Oblivion.
Avowed, Game Pass. Oblivion, Game Pass. Doom, Game Pass. South of Midnight, Game Pass. I'm telling you right now, get it for 2 months, pay you $30 or $35 or whatever. That is insane value for money. Indiana Jones, you still haven't played Indiana Jones.
Especially great value in an environment where game prices are going up.
Yes.
And they're talking about, oh, yes, why the hell don't I read it? Our friend of the show, Randy. I've met Randy. Have you met Randy?
I have met Randy.
I met Randy.
I met him he was out for PAX.
He was really nice. I actually said to him, I said, I really like Duke Nukem Forever. I said, I don't know why I got so much heat. And he actually shook my hand and smiled and he goes, I think you're the only one.
Now, look, I'm not going to say it's the best thing I ever played, but I think it got a lot of unfair bullshit.
I think it was a canary in the coal mine for the culture war that was about to happen.
And you beat me to it. I was just about to say, I think that was Kotaku before there was action. You know what I mean? Like,
it was nowhere near as bad as people said. Yeah. Look, it wasn't great, but I played a lot of great games that I've loved. I mean, I enjoyed playing it.
Between PSN and Xbox, and I have both, and that's the joys of my thing because I use them for events. I get to write them off on tax, right? So don't listen for a sec. But
where's my hashtag?
Yeah, hashtag. Yeah,
ATO phone.
But because we buy them through the business and stuff. But I mean, between the two of those, let's say you paid $400 a year for the two of them. So
Geelong one. Anyway, sorry.
What's that thing? You've got PlayStation Plus. The fancy one is $196 a year. Ask me how I know. It just came out of my fucking bank. And Game Pass is probably about the same. It's probably about $200. That's $400 a year. That sounds like a lot. But for the breadth of games that you would get across those two alone.
On future game prices, that's 4 games.
Right? And that's, if you think of it in
that's where we're going.
And this is my poverty mind.
Mario
and this is my growing up poor, right? This is why I'll never slag anyone off for piracy. I don't approve it, especially for games. I would always rather have a legal method. And like Game You All said, it's not a price issue, it's an accessibility issue. Do you know what I mean? Like, make it easy, make it accessible, and people will just pay the goddamn
people buy hundreds of games on Steam and never play them.
Right. And so they'll just give them free money, right? And
that's like 500 games on Steam.
Yeah.
I don't play 500 games. I play like one that made after 1990.
Play Elite Dangerous and Factorio. Yeah.
I've even given up on Elite Dangerous because they made it silly, but that was another podcast.
Yeah. But realistically, and I'm trying not to be a Game Pass shill, but I'm like, even if you got it for 2 months, get it from now until June, right? Before the just after the Switch comes out, right? The value for money that you would get out of that, $35-$40. I mean, that's crazy. That's got to be 500 hours of good quality gaming, and you didn't pay for, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you don't keep it, but you keep your save file, you keep whatever. And if you buy Game Pass, you when they go off Game Pass, they'll give you there's always a sale.
They normally have a discount.
There'll be discounts on DLC, there'll be discounts on everything. And that's how they get you. I get it. That's how they got me, right?
But that's fair enough, because that's like, you've had plenty of time to demo the game.
Yeah, and if you like it or not.
If you put 100 hours into a Game Pass and it comes off and you go, well, I might as well spend 20 or $30 and grab it.
So Power Wash Simulator was that for me. I buy those DLCs now because I enjoy that game so much. And I didn't pay for it originally, you know what I mean? And then I'm like, it went on special, it was like $14. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll just buy it for $14.
Yeah.
And then each DLC is like expensive, but I'm like, it's the same with Helldivers. If you play Helldivers enough, you do not need to pay a single cent for any any of the.
But even Helldivers is a cheap game, right?
$50.
Yeah, and so we're having this debate, and this gone off topic I was going to, but we're having this debate of rising game prices, and the big one's GTA 6. The whole industry is waiting to see what GTA 6 comes out as, right? How much? Because then if it's really expensive, Andrew might pick up a copy.
Yeah.
So he's into expensive stuff.
Played in Romanian jail. Yeah,
yeah. But so everyone's waiting for that and hoping that they like ratchet up the prices. Meanwhile, you've got Game Pass, which you can play, and even if you got PSN as well, as you're saying, you can play what would 4 games or potentially 3 or 3.5 games under the new pricing regime cost, and you can play hundreds of games.
Rent it. Like, just get it from. You can always cancel it. There's nothing saying you have to have it for a year. You just cancel it, right? And just get it for a month or two. Play the games you want to play. Cancel it. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Like, I just don't see an issue. And then, like, you know, if you do want to buy it, like I said, when they go off Game Passes, like I bought Call of the Wild ages ago. The hunting game that I play, right? But then all the DLC.
Yeah, okay.
When it came up,
Kabbalah big game, is it?
No, I don't use Kabbalah. No, it's the Hunter Call the Wild. I'm pretty sure it's made by Avalanche. It's made by the Swedish guys, and so that's a great hunting game. If you want a great chill game, listen to a podcast, walk around, like really realistic environments. When I say realistic, like it covers a lot of Australia's different flora and fauna in a very short space. But
hunting in Australia.
You can do kangaroos.
So you can reenact the emu war.
You can't do
Go for revenge.
You can do kangaroos. So there's kangaroos.
This time it's personal.
Kangaroos, kangaroos, crocodiles, like wild bison. There's goats. There's a bunch of random stuff in there. I mean, if it was realistic, you should be shooting horses and cats. But
actually, to my daughter, if she's listening, just ignore that last bit.
Yeah,
she just burst into tears.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to be that guy. Like, I mean, everyone's entitled to have their little kitty cats and their horses. And horses, you got to remember, people always go like, "Oh, I couldn't believe they'd kill you for stealing a horse." I said, but if you stole someone's horse, that was their livelihood.
That was like a car once.
It was more than a car. If you think like it was. You know, it was how they tilled the soil. It was how they moved from place to place. It was, you know, how they pulled out stumps. It was how they pulled out. It was like a backhoe and a car and everything rolled into one. It was someone's livelihood. So that was why you were stealing their livelihood. And that was why they were so valuable in those days. But when they're out loose on the farm and in the wild, and they're tearing up Mount Kosciuszko, and they eat everything, and their heavy hooves tear up all the little wetlands that all of our native animals live in. My sympathy wanes. And it's the same for feral cats. It's like, you have your little kitty cats at home, and I like kitty cats. I like rabbits. I like foxes. They're all very cute, but they have no place being in Australia.
I actually like feral cats. Do you know why?
Why?
Oh, because they've got nice, chunky, strong legs. Like they're
what the fuck?
They're the strong boys of cats. They're like, because house cats are just chunky and they got weak little legs. But you see a feral cat. A feral cat will look at you. You know, these like legs like he's still a little bit part tiger. And they're like,
you got to remember, like,
wow, what a good looking little cat.
Pigs will turn back.
I love feral cats.
Pigs will go feral in 2 generations. They'll start getting tusks again, right? In 2 generations, their bodies will adapt to the epigenetic thing that's affecting them, and they'll start getting tusks.
Cats, when they're feral, they're like on creatine. They're like,
I mean, everyone should be taking creatine, but that's a different conversation.
They're like,
anyway,
they're chunky boys.
We've gone off topic. Moral story is, I bought the DLC for that game based on it being on Game Pass, and when it went off Game Pass,
what are we talking about?
they did all of the DLC really cheap, and I bought so much of the DLC just so I could
own a wildcat instead of a house cat.
And then, okay. You've never dealt with a feral cat if you've said that, because they are, I mean, they're just feral. They can't be tamed. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I spend all day on Twitter. I've seen feral, don't worry.
Yeah.
I'm used to it. So anyway, we're talking about feral. Feral. So what I tried to say is Randy Pitchford.
Yes.
He's had a let the meat cake moment.
Yeah.
So he got asked, will Borderlands 4 be $80? That's a bargain at half the price. He basically said, A, it's out of my control, and B, paraphrasing here, he said, if you really love the game, you'll find $80 to buy it.
Yeah,
basically. And then he did a little story about how the game was expensive when he was a little boy. Whatever. So, I mean, you know, $80 for him, that's just a tip at the magic place where he goes to watch the magic trips. But and that came across in this environment very bad, and it did sound like let the meat cake. I understood what he was saying though, because if you compare it to GTA 6, I joked last week it could release for $500 and people will find the money.
I mean,
and I do believe
that legitimately
would
come out in Australian US. So
I reckon 200.
100 USD, and people would pay. If you said this includes a single player, multiplayer, blah blah blah, and it comes with one shark card, $200.
Yeah,
Australian, no worries.
I can see it. It will, but see that's what Randy's about. Mind you, the audience of Borderlands, I don't know if they will, but he was saying that, and it's gone very negative. I'll stick up for Randy there. He is a bit of a clown in some ways. Nice guy in person.
Yeah,
he was really nice.
I actually agree. Having met him, he's in person. He's perfectly palatable.
He has done some weird shit. So, but in this one, when he said if you like the game, you'll find the money to buy it.
It's a bit tone. It was a little tone deaf.
Yeah, tone deaf is the term. That's a good term. So yeah, it did come across very badly. I get what you're saying. He's going to cop a lot of negative criticism over it, but I think
but Doug Bowser will be happy about that. So
yeah, I do think that's a lot. Yeah, well, the Nintendo's going to get away with it. But I think he's going to get criticised. But I think that's the general mood of the industry, not the industry, of the gaming side of the industry, the gamer side, that is looking at these increasing prices after we've just discussed the benefits of Game Pass and being very nervous about it. So Randy's come out with that bad timing.
If you want to play the inflation card, you're probably correct. Like people used to pay $100 Australian back in the day for an N64 game, and that was in 1997. So that would be about $160 odd now if you do the math on it over 25, 30 years. But it's less about that, and it's more about, well, there's so many games and so many things now, like, and there's so much overhead is the big one that kind of kills it. Is it's like we have a bigger industry than we ever have, but we have more insolvencies, we have lower wages, you know what I mean? Relative.
But you know what the solution is? The solution is to have shorter game experiences instead of all trying to be the next Fortnite.
Yes.
And then
everyone wants the game as a service. Yeah.
But they want to own all your time because then they got the data, they can push ads to you and that. And everybody can't own your time. So the entire industry has a lot of games. So they need to make them so that they are, because a lot of TV shows and movies come out, right? And people can still consume a lot of them because they're like a couple of hours. Whereas a game could be 40 to 80 hours.
You binge a season of a show, 8 hours maximum, 9 hours maximum.
Yeah.
That wouldn't even touch the you'd be doing the first set of quests in Avowed in that 8 hours.
So the game, I think the games either should do that, or my suggestion when DLC started coming out, which I don't know why they didn't do, episodic games.
Yeah. They did try, but they did it the worst possible way, right?
I think the market had trouble understanding it, but if you did have games that could come out with, you could keep it going with episodes on that one game engine instead of having 2, 3, 4, so on, right? You could have episodes come out as long as the game is still interesting to people, and then you can stop. You don't have to worry about actors and that as much in the AI world. They don't.
I would say that a few people took it different ways. So Death Stranding and even Metal Gear Solid 5 did episodic. It was episode 7, l'enfant terrible, like whatever episode it was. In Death Stranding, there's 15 episodes, I want to say.
But did they all come out at once? Or?
No. It was all in the game, but it was segregated. But I played it like that. If I'm being real, after every episode of like 3 hours of this emotional and video and gameplay slog, I needed a break. I was like, I'm actually happy for the kind of the break in traffic.
You're walking very seriously.
Yeah. Whereas there's some games like Avowed, I powered through, and I could power through because of the nature of how the game is set up. I could go, okay, I'm going to go right up until the next. The next base or whatever the case may be.
But RPGs, I don't know, do they still do it as much? Where remember the old days they used to pad out games to make them run longer because all the reviews and that used to talk about the amount of time, amount of hours a game would take. So what they did is they started just filling them with random encounters in RPGs to try and say, look, this game goes for 120 hours when it really only goes for like 20. But the rest of it's just random bullshit.
You mentioned Metaphor Refantasia. It borrows from that school. It's not quite as bad as that, but it does.
But that's a habit that needs to stop. So I think shorter games. I think episode
games that don't outstay their welcome. But I mean, this is the thing. You think of Half-Life. Half-Life had tried to do the episode thing. The industry wasn't ready for it. And granted, they did it badly. But like,
but also they just left it hanging. And I think there was a market for episode 3.
Whereas with Bungie,
was a market,
and there still is. Half-Life 3 will break the internet still. I think, talking about Helldivers is doing it the correct way. It's like, here's the base game. You can still play the base game, but every so often, if I'm
my son runs in every couple of weeks, excited as hell out of the new drop for Hell.
If I'm going to give credit where it's due, I mean, that Fortnite does that, but Fortnite does that in a way more cynical way, where it's like, oh, you can be. Have you seen the Darth Vader AI and people are convincing it?
Yeah, you know my love of my love of Star Wars. James Earl Jones,
stole those rights in 2022. Yeah,
I'm against that. Now everybody says that's good because he's getting the money for it, or he just got the money. Well, yeah, and he gave permission. That's good. I get that, right? He gave permission, so they're not just stealing his voice. Yeah. And I don't like how they're just going to steal people's voices. But on the other hand, what it does is it locks out a new actor.
Yes.
So he's permanently that voice, right? And that's great because he's iconic in that role. But he will always.
And all you got to do is put another bloke in a suit walking around, and you've got it.
And they didn't pay the guy in the suit first time. Yep. So what happened? What'll happen now is he will be that forever. Now, good on him for negotiating that, and in a way, good on would have been Disney or whatever for licensing, but it does. The other part of it is it locks out anybody in future from ever having that role.
It goes back to the conversation I've had for years. The culture has stagnated since 2001, since 9/11. The culture has stagnated, and we are rehashing because we're so afraid to make anything new. And anything that new and comes out either gets milked by the wrong influences or just goes on to become its own cultural icon in its own way. Do you know what I mean? And for better or worse, we're stuck in this middle world where, I'm not against the idea of games as a service or any of that kind of stuff. I have very little issues with that whatsoever. What I do have an issue with is lazy ones. And Bungie, before all this conversation we've had, weren't lazy. There was enough interesting meat on the bones and enough trying to do that episodic kind of building to the next thing content and doing it in those seasons in that way worked. Whereas like everyone just does lazy seasons now. Do you know what I mean? Battle Pass was
season passes are bullshit because they're just 3 things that were in the game. Anyway.
And Valve invented Battle Passes, but they invented it on a free game. You did not have to spend. You can still install Dota now, and it is completely free.
Now, by episodes, I mean effectively because you'll sit down and you'll binge. We watch House as a family every so often, just watch a couple episodes, and it's just fun. You just need to get to the point where you watch another one because it's fun. And games should be doing an episode where they're reasonably self-contained, but instead of doing all these sequels one after another, just have it so that I can then go to the store and go, So I say I played through Deus Ex and I go, oh, that was awesome. Is there another episode of that? And the episodes would be easier to make because you already have everything set up. You already have the engine. And I think it could have been embraced way more by the game industry. And then what I can do then is, another episode, it's X dollars cheaper than the original game. I'll just do it, right? And if you did that, then I could keep doing that until I got sick of it, and they could keep making them until I got sick of it. And when I say, I mean obviously, just like they did with TV shows. I mean, normally you have a TV show that'll have a planned, say 5 or 6 seasons, like a Sopranos or something, or Better Call Saul or something like that. But also you can, they do go, well, this ain't working, so we'll stop it. Which you could do in a gaming model, I think, really successfully, especially now we're away from this hype cycle that was used to be magazine driven, where it had to, they hyped it up. Now they can do it a little bit different because the hype cycle doesn't have defined times. You've just got people on the internet.
You think of the old days, it was like 18 months, they'd announce a game, and then over the course of the 18 months, you get close to the release date and you release the game. Now, 6 months, maximum 6 months. And I will say Apple is the one who spearheaded that, basically. Same day or inside of 3 months.
Well, Oblivion just dropped.
Yeah.
And they still sold millions of copies. In fact, I'm going to go as a segue to my last thing I had on my list.
All right.
Okay. So anyway, Randy, I feel bad for you on this one. Some of the stuff you do, I don't agree with. Let me tell you. But in this one, I think it just hit at a bad time.
Yeah, very tone deaf. Okay. I mean, Marie Antoinette never actually said never let them eat cake, right?
Yeah, she didn't. That was added. And most things in history that we think are true were just added by biographers or story writers later, like George Washington never chopped down a cherry tree. And
it's like when people tell you that Churchill's a good bloke.
Yeah, Churchill, fuck. So he wanted to basically just murder all the Australians.
Yeah, no, as someone with both Australian heritage and Irish heritage, I'm not a fan of Winston Churchill. So.
Yeah. Okay. Now I've got some stats, some numbers. Okay, this is from VG. What do I write down there? VG Campfire Sicana. Okay, so it's top selling games in April 2025. I'll go through these because I think these are interesting. So on
I'm not reading it.
You're trying to. The top selling games are
when I realized what it was, I stopped.
By dollar. You don't care.
What?
Okay.
I can read it from here. My eyesight's still pretty good.
By dollar. Mine's not because you're further away and you can read it clearer. By the top selling games by dollar. This is in
by dollar value.
By dollar value in April 2025. Oblivion, Forza 5, MLB The Show, Minecraft, and Assassin's Creed Shadows. And the best selling games. That's the top selling games across all platforms, right?
Forza Horizon 5.
Yeah. Now you'll notice something there I think is really interesting.
Or Microsoft, but yeah.
Yes. Now this is the thing. The best selling games on PlayStation.
Yeah.
Out of the top 7 spots, 5 of them were published by Microsoft.
Wow.
You had Oblivion at top.
Yeah.
Forza,
yeah.
MLB The Show.
Yeah.
Indiana Jones.
Yes.
You'll be happy about that. COD Black Ops 6. I didn't know that was a Microsoft one.
Well, it's Activision.
Okay, yep. Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Yep.
And Minecraft, which just won't die.
It's interesting. Well, I mean, that's 6 then, if you're doing that list.
Hang on, 1, 2, 3. No, 5. I might have talked wrong, but no.
No, GTA. Okay, I got
Oblivion, Forza, Indiana Jones, Black Ops 6.
So
and
Oblivion,
Minecraft.
Forza, COD, Call of Duty, Indiana Jones,
Minecraft,
and what were the other 2?
The other 2, MLB The Show and Assassin's Creed.
MLB, Sony, yeah, cool. That's what I got mixed up. Yeah.
So Microsoft moving multi-platform.
It's impressive for MLB The Show, man, because that's only a new thing. They never used to release those over here. And the fact that that's gone multi-platform, knowing that it's a Sony published game is interesting in and of itself.
Yeah, well, that were the best 7. There's 5 of the top 7 best-selling games in April 2025 on PlayStation were Microsoft published.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. So,
that's bad. That's actually bad news for the Xbox as a hardware brand.
But good news for Microsoft in general.
Yeah, interesting. But see, if you look at that, because that's interesting for the top 5 PlayStation 5 games.
Yeah,
COD, Fortnite. This is in April.
Yeah,
GTA 5.
Yeah,
Roblox.
Yeah,
and Microsoft.
So Minecraft, you mean?
What did I say the last one?
Minecraft.
Yeah. Same thing.
So literally the same 5 games that kids literally play all the time.
Okay. Do you want to know the top 5 games on Xbox?
Yeah.
Same time period. COD.
Yeah.
Fortnite.
Yeah.
Minecraft.
Yeah.
GTA 5.
Yeah.
Roblox.
Yeah.
Why do people go online and they go, I prefer PlayStation because of all the games. I prefer Xbox all the games. You're playing the same games. Yeah. Both of them playing the top 5 games are the same games.
But you got to remember, this is aimed at the Gen Alphas / late Zoomers. You know what I mean? This is not the conversation we're having as adults. It's a conversation they won't be having.
No, nobody arguing over consoles is having a conversation as an adult.
Yeah, that's true.
But no, so when people are trying to decide whether they buy a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox, they're basically saying, do I want Game Pass or Last of Us?
Yes, yeah. And so this is why Jim Ryan...
Another version.
This is why Jim Ryan was so disastrous for Sony. And I say this as Sony have been good supporters to us in the past for our events, so I can't be too mean. But Jim Ryan's...
PlayStation's everywhere.
Jim Ryan's path to what they were going to do, the game as a service turn, all that kind of stuff. It's like, dude, just make the sad dad games. You guys are the sad dad platform. Just make the sad dad games and then let the Japanese off the hook occasionally. And it's nice to see that they're moving back to Japan. They're letting the Japanese, because you do need these buffer games in the middle. This is the one thing Nintendo learned. You have one tentpole you have 2 big tentpoles a year, and you have 2 smaller tentpoles. So you have your triple A's, your A's, and then you have your bit of fillers. So your couple of indie titles, your WarioWares, all that kind of stuff to fill that gap. That's the thing that Sony hasn't learned is I'm like, Helldivers was meant to be one of their fill the gap games, and it's probably the only thing at the moment people give a shit about from Sony. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I would argue it's hurting Ghosts of Yote.
Actually, it's not in the top 5, but it's still pretty popular.
We got to remember that most of those are playing on Steam. Steam is the platform de jour. I mean, it hit 200K players on Steam alone the other day. It's gone back up.
If you look at all the top games on Steam, I went to write them down, but there's a lot. But they weren't them. The only crossover between Xbox and PS5 was Oblivion, which is actually 6th most popular in Xbox.
Yeah, because you don't buy any of those other ones on Steam. You buy it. So you buy COD through Blizzard, through BlizzNet. You buy Fortnite through Fortnite. You buy Minecraft through Microsoft, and you buy Roblox through Roblox. So they're the ones that have escaped the orbit of Steam. But anyone else, I mean, the Steam vacuum is too strong. One thing I will mention, have you seen the rumors, and they're just rumors, so I don't want to go too far in them, of Microsoft releasing a like a
handheld.
No, a handheld is one part of it, but also a console that's like a PC console hybrid, so you can have your Steam library on your console, and potentially Sony has the option to make their games unavailable to people on that platform. So that's an interesting licensing.
Wait, is this a combined Xbox Steam?
Pretty much. So it would be like Steam's. It would be like an Xbox that sits in your lounge room and has like Microsoft's OS over the top, but it will access your Steam library also.
Oh, okay, so streaming or playing?
Playing.
Oh, okay, because they won't go with Proton.
No, but there's
no way they would want Windows on it.
Absolutely, but at the same time, Steam has also said that their software is open source. They don't care that much. You know what I mean? As long as you follow their security provisions, they don't care how you access the Steam game.
That would be a killer box.
That would, and that's what I say. And then Gaben dies, and they buy Steam. That's the scary part.
Look, I think Microsoft's doing everything they can behind the scenes to make sure that they are the ones that inherit it.
Yes,
there's all these little rumors you read every so often about offers being made and stuff, and there does need to be a common thread.
I think a lot of them were true at some point. I still think the Microsoft Sega thing was true at some point. I still think there was meant to be...
they screwed Sega.
I think there was meant to be a Switch Pro at some point. Do you know what I mean? But whether it was COVID, whether whatever, I think all those things were true at some point, and because they didn't happen doesn't mean they weren't true.
Oh, yeah.
You can call that copium or whatever you want to call it.
No, there's lots of things starting to get cancelled. 20 years later, there's a video about it, about you know these Sega consoles like the Neptune that never saw the light of day, and then you'll see like an early prototype of it, and you go, well, you can't just say it's a rumor. I didn't see it; it never happened. There's a lot of stuff goes on in these businesses. They are prototyping and trying to bring out the next thing all the time because they have to keep moving.
Yeah.
So I like that. Yeah, absolutely. The Switch Pro had so much smoke there had to be some fire.
Yes,
absolutely.
I think you could see it. The upgraded screen, slightly bigger, better kickstand, all the things that they've really done.
I think the software side just got too hard, and so they just.
I think it was the lack of chips. They basically said we can't get a new
COVID.
We can't get a smaller chipset. Blah blah blah. And that's why they've gone proprietary for this one. So this new one's a Samsung. It's a proprietary Samsung chipset.
Well, see, that's when we talk about the same games being played on Xbox and PlayStation. They're in Microsoft and Sony's consoles. There's no real proprietary stuff anymore. No. Remember the old days of the Emotion Engine, the cell processor.
The only thing that is proprietary in Sony's console is the memory reader.
Yeah, the high-speed drive thing.
Yeah, which is snore, right?
Oh, yeah, I got a high-speed drive. Whoa, gaming will never be the same. Sony made a big deal out of that, and I couldn't understand. I thought, are you so lame now that is the most exciting thing is a fast hard drive?
The only thing I will give Sony is they will let you put as long as it's to the right spec, they will let you put your own SSD into your PlayStation.
Yeah, but they've been doing that forever. Microsoft, for some reason, has always made it hard to put in a replacement.
So my Electrics just bought a 2 gig Xbox, a 2 terabyte Xbox card. Guess how much it cost?
Was the choice between that or a new car?
It was at least the car
$700.
$700.
Yeah,
$99.
That's ridiculous.
You could literally buy another console for that money.
Yeah, okay.
Just rotate between.
I don't know. I got no idea why speed of hard drives became the different, and I don't know. Storage became the differentiator in this generation.
And you have a world where Sony is not making you buy proprietary memory. Maybe they've got bad memories. Yeah.
So you're buying the same game. The top games are the same games.
Yeah.
And the hardware is the same. The only difference is the storage.
And the funniest part of...
Well, can you imagine that back in the old days? Remember PlayStation 3? They got all these Emotion Engine. Was that the three that had the Emotion Engine?
I'm trying to think. The last consoles that really
imagine hyping that up.
The last consoles that did have unique architecture was PS3. Wii U for sure had unique architecture, and I would say the 3DS. The 3DS was probably the last mainstream console that had, because it was TSMC.
Well, the Switch was a mobile phone.
Yes, it was an NVIDIA Tegra chip, and they did that. I feel like, I don't know, that was the fact that they haven't gone with NVIDIA again is interesting. I think there's a story there that
I think NVIDIA's lost the plot, and I think they're in a bad place.
100% agree on both those things.
I think they dropped the ball. They got distracted, and they've gone off into La La Land.
Yes,
that was going to hurt them for a long time. And at this point, this is a whole comeback.
And it's and so they've become like this arms race for like, because the amount of people I've heard go, oh no, I've got a 4070 or a 4080. Why would I get a 50 whatever? Because it's got AI. Who gives a shit?
Because the speed improvements are from the trickery,
and because the people that buy those kind of things, it's the same people who buy like it'd be like saying Brocky with the polarizer, right? You're not going to trick everyone with the polarizer, right? You're not going to trick everyone with the polarizer. And the kind of people who work on cars, aren't going to go, oh yeah, definitely gave me more thing. The kind of people who will home build PCs and live in that market aren't going to buy it. Like they're not going to go, this is going to make my life better. It's not going to be better than the existing thing I have. So I'm not going to, I will do it as a prestige. I will do it to say that I have too much money. But even then you would just buy 2 4090s. You know what I mean? Like run them in SLI or whatever.
I forgot about Brocky's polarizer.
I figured you were old enough to get the reference. So that was
normally Brocky. I think of the word starting with P is pulverizer.
I was 4 years old, 3 years old when the polarizer was a thing.
Man, I remember that.
And the old was it VK Commodores? It was VK because the VL was the Nissan 6-cylinder. Yeah.
Yeah. I never understood the models of cars. I never quite got that. But that polarizer, holy moly.
Yeah, it was.
That's a blast.
For those who don't know, Google it. But it was basically a tiny thing you put near your exhaust port that would align the energies. It was like woo for cars.
Yeah,
and
it's a crystal effectively.
Yeah, the crystal would basically purify the energy that went through the car. It's like
also Google Brocky pulverizer.
Yeah. But also, I mean, you think of it like that. You know, the only crystal inside of a car that does any good is the titanium crystal inside of your catalytic converter. Anyway,
that's the one they steal, isn't it?
It's not steel. It's titanium, isn't it? That's why they steal them. Oh, that's why they steal. I thought you asked if they were steel. I was like, no, they're titanium. I just said it. Hey, is it titanium or platinum? One of them.
I don't know. They get stolen. Anyway, okay. So to wrap up that one, Nintendo, their top games are Mario Kart, Minecraft, Mario Party, some Hello Kitty game.
Mario Party Jamboree, I assume.
Some 100 line. Anyway, Smash and Pokemon. So Nintendo's still selling the same games over and over again. Yeah. And Steam, like I said, Steam was way different. But it appears to me like the console is the underage.
Yes.
Way the Xbox and PS5 are now for underage, and Steam is for when you grow up.
Yeah, a little bit. And then
hate to say it, but the top games are Roblox.
And then Nintendo's for the Nintendo. I mean, look,
Nintendo's playing its own game.
Yeah, Nintendo's lived outside it's so far removed from the gaming ecosystem now that it's hard to call them a gaming company, even though they are perhaps the most pure of the gaming companies. If you want to go that purity of vision, but they can be when you've got as much cash as they do. They literally have billions of dollars in the bank, and that's not market realization, market capital, or whatever the case may be. It is pure cash. Like it's the same with Apple. Apple could go bust for Nintendo. Could have, we've joked about it for years. They could have 10 failed consoles and it wouldn't even make a dent.
Yeah, that's not money in the bank.
Yeah.
And they are very similar to Apple because they make cutesy products that everyone loves, but they're actually us.
So their own unique, yeah.
Sorry, hello.
On that, yeah. Anyway,
my views do not reflect the views.
Yeah, that's fine. If I was going to edit yours now, I've left it too late, haven't I? Like everyone always says, I was like, yeah, I've got an editorial voice. I try not to flex it. We've only ever had to use it once, and no. So on that note, let's wrap it up.
Cool.
We got Bam in. If you're listening to this, probably next weekend. Feel free to come down and spectate. We have, I think, 109 foreign players coming down or thereabouts. Some ridiculous number, and of those,
and 108 of them are from Korea.
So of those, there's like multiple time Tekken World Tour champions, multiple time Evo champions, blah 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 blah. Tekken, Street Fighter, lots of Tekken. We got a lot of Tekken representation. Garo, not Mark of the Wolves, whatever the new one's called. I'm pretty sure it's still Garo, but not Mark of the Wolves. I can't remember what it is. Anyway. Big thing on that. Guilty Gear, Street Fighter, still huge. We got Beyblades is huge. We actually have the regional qualifier for the Beyblades finals, both Western and Eastern versions.
When I added that to the side, I thought you guys were mad. I honestly, I added it. I went, Beyblade? Yeah. What year is this?
Let it rip, bro. Let it rip.
It is so popular. Yeah. I was shocked. I saw it also at the Game Expo. I was like, what the
people
hell?
Will say to me when you're over there, hey, can you pick me up XXX? And it's gotten better. Like the types of Beyblades have kind of converged, so you're not missing out on anything over here. But if there's a launch, it usually hits in Japan first, and I'll get, hey, can you snag? I'm like, yeah, I'll get you a couple. What do you need? And they just tell me. And I remember our accountant actually for our business, and this is a funny little aside, and then we'll end. called me up and they were like, "Hey, can you send me the receipts for this transaction?" I'm like, "What transaction?" I said, I'm up to date on my receipts. Oh, the one for Akihabara at Surugaya. I'm like, I don't go to Akihabara. Like, I mean, I was there, but I wasn't doing it. It was Hayden buying Takara Tomy Beyblade arenas because they're different, you see. And so I had to say to him, like, no, you have to go talk to Hayden. He bought those ones. And so, yeah, that we traced it back on the card and realized that he'd been buying them for our work, quote unquote. Well, it is our work. We're getting,
well, it is, yeah.
Part of our thing.
Part of the,
but yeah, it was funny that even the accountant was like, "You fucking weeb, send me your."
Yeah, what are you doing, bud?
Yeah.
No, I thought you were mad, but like I said, the Game Expo, that was wild.
Yeah. and we do run it at other events. We run plenty of stuff, and there is a really
RMIT. It's on at RMIT game.
There's a really good community scene behind it. The guys driving it, some of them are former video game TOs for us. They used to do Tekken and stuff for us, and so we know that they're in good, safe hands. So if you like listening to this, you do have young kids and you're interested in Beyblades, I think you either need a spectator or it's like a cheaper pass for Beyblade specifically. You only need to pay for a cheaper pass. You don't have to have a full scale competitor FGC pass. So if you're interested, sign up soon because we will be closing brackets on a lot of stuff come Monday.
battlearenamelbourne.com.au.
That's I hear there's a website there as well. After that, the week later, it is the Switch launch, and there'll be hopefully a glitch. We'll have that going up as well. Mm-hmm. And then I'm in Japan for Jack's 30th birthday for 2 weeks, and so we'll be filming some content over there.
Never ask a man his age.
No. He's doing all right. Like I wonder how he's handling the. I mean, he was always from Queensland, and he's got that olive skin, so he'd be handling the heat in Japan just fine. But I know poor Mish, one of our other good friends, is struggling. 30 degrees and 86% humidity.
Yeah.
Get fucked.
Yeah, no. I remember when I used to live for a little while in Singapore, and I know it's more close to the equator, but when you get that high humidity and that Asian heat,
yeah,
I hate it. You come home and you almost hug Melbourne's weather.
I'm not great in the heat, but I can handle even 35 as long as it's just a dry, hot day. Get in the sun, get somewhere cool, stay in the shade, and it's okay. It's not good, but it's okay.
You go outside and play with your magpie friends.
Yeah, they're all right. I'm really
hate me.
I am really worried about there's one of the cockatoos has he's got a deformed beak, so I'm trying to get if anyone listening, if you know what the wildlife service is near Glen Waverley, who I can talk to about there's a wild cockatoo, and he's only a baby, he's only young. It's maybe a girl, I don't know. But it's got like a really deformed bottom beak, and I'm not convinced it can eat properly. So if you know anyone in like wildlife services, send us an email. Through the New Game Plus.
Be like on a farm and take it out a bottle of milk.
Well, that's the thing. So even if I were to feed a chunk, keep in mind I try not to feed them full stop. Right?
Yeah.
I feed them. If I do, I feed them peanuts. I feed them like meat. I'll give the crows like old chicken breasts and stuff like that. But I won't. Like, because they're carrion eaters, but don't give mince to magpies, all that kind of stuff. But I won't make it a habit of feeding them because I want them to forage on their own. But I'm just worried. Anyway,
Jason has an army of birds.
This is a complete tangent. I have lots of native birds at my house. If you want advice on how to get rid of Indian miners, not small children from the subcontinent, brown, they're the little brown birds that go around. You've seen them everywhere with the black faces. This is sounding worse than I mean it to, but they kill your native birds. I have dealt with the problem around me, and I'm happy to give you tips on how to deal with the problem near you. There are some great
join the Liberal Party
resources on the internet. Nah, they love the Indians, mate. If you're an Indian out here and you're rich enough to move to Australia, they love you. Anyway, on that note, thank you very much for everyone for listening.
You're doing worse than Randy.
Yeah. On that,
we're going to find a mystery USB key.
On that note, I'm going to dig up because that's a dig up moment. But no, on that note, thank you for listening. I hope you've had fun. And if you do know any wildlife services near Glen Waverley who can help, please let me know. God damn, I thought I turned off every notification sound. It's making me mad now. Let's get out of here before I get mad.
Bing.
On that note, we'll see you guys next time.